Leeds, Leeds, Leeds. What is happening? Welcome to Working Hours, an oral history podcast about a place called Leeds, a time called now, and an activity called work. Working Hours wants to record 1,000 loiners over the course of this, the most important decade in the history of the human species, and ask them about what they do all day and hear how they feel about it. My name is Simon, and this is all my fault. My mission here is to try to map out what my city, Leeds, a city that has declared a climate emergency, did during humanity's biggest emergency. On Working Hours, we hear how loiners have, are, and will be coping with our multiple and expanding crises during their day-to-day working hours. Can we turn things around? We'll find out. To tell this story, I need loiners like you, dear listener. I need people in Leeds or people from Leeds to come on this podcast and just tell me what they do all day and let me record how this affects us. Thank you for listening.
So, I will kick us off with my first question, which is, as always, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I wanted to be a writer.
Nice.
And I'm quite lucky because I am a writer of sorts.
Mm.
But I wanted to write, be a best-selling novelist rather than writing about asbestos and funerals and plastic surgery and various other client subjects that I write content for. So I kind of got my wish, but not in the way I wished for.
Yeah, sort of a monkey's paw wish.
Yeah, definitely. And interestingly, I have and had at school absolutely atrocious handwriting. Nobody could read my handwriting. And I used to get told off and told I'd never be a writer because my handwriting was so bad. I showed them.
Oh yeah, well, typing's everywhere now.
Yeah, exactly. And my daughter gets exactly the same at her parents' evening. So, and I respond by saying, well, I write for a living and I've got really bad handwriting. So there.
Yeah. And have you checked your doctor's handwriting recently?
Well, I should have been a doctor. It's horrendous to the extent my partner sometimes rings me with the shopping list or has to take a screenshot and WhatsApp it to me because he can't read it. What's that word? Lemons.
You're listening to Series 5, Episode 4, and to my guest, Clare Clifford. This is another Zoom interview recorded on the 10th of January 2024. Clare Clifford, mum, Yorkshire lass, Leeds dweller, business owner, expert speaker, lover of shoes, wild swimmer, and expert in digital content and founder of Sunshine Digital. Clare is a mum to 3 and a Border Terrier. She loves coffee, Percy Pigs, gin, cheese, and is obsessed with true crime books, podcasts, and documentaries. She believes passionately in supporting local businesses and tries to shop small as much as she can. To which end, Clare created Find It in Farsley to help put her local community on the map. Clare says there's loads of digital content experts out there. It's a really crowded market. So why would anyone choose her? Well, in a nutshell, she really does know her shit, and she gets shit done. Having spent almost 2 decades honing her skills, Clare is a true content expert who can get any business shining online. You'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll love spending an hour with Clare. Right, let's do this. Episode 114 of Working Hours with Clare Clifford.
Okay, so I'll jump straight into what is it that you do now then?
So I'm the founder and owner of Sunshine Digital Media. It's a content marketing agency. I usually tell people that I'm a boutique agency. It's because I'm small. It is just me. I have a virtual assistant and a web developer and someone who does ads who I work really closely with. But yes, just me. Unlike working with a big agency, I work one-to-one with my clients and I write all the content myself. I'm really particular / bit of a control freak about that. But what it means is that when I write content, I've written for clients before where even their own mother can't tell it's me writing. So yeah, that's me. I've worked with everybody from like Boots and Travelodge, really big corporate companies, First
Mhm.
Group, to my local hairdresser. Really big array of different kind of businesses. My thing is that I can my kind of tagline is I can get any business shining online.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Within that, there's a lot of social media because that is the best way for the majority of small and medium businesses to get shining online. And with that, when they haven't got a massive advertising budget, because it's free, other than obviously my time to write it.
Mm.
And it really works if you do it properly. So
Yeah.
that's my business. I do write for blogs. I can write web copy as well. Newsletters. Really love writing a newsletter, to be honest. It makes me feel like I'm like it was Press Gang was a program that I used to really like watching when I was younger. It makes me feel like I'm a journalist, but not a bad one.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's me in a nutshell. I'm award winning. I was Business Mum of the Year in 2018.
Nice.
Yeah. And I love it, in all honesty. I love my work, I love my business, and I love the majority of my clients as well. I'm really lucky.
Nice. So, how did you get into it? How was the business, and what sort of made you start it?
Oh, this is a very long answer. I have been in marketing or business development really for probably 20 years now.
Mm.
Um, and I worked in kind of a marketing and events role for a biggish company, and I became a mum. And like a lot of women, I kind of realised quite quickly that I personally couldn't balance a high-powered career
Mm.
as an employee and motherhood in the way I wanted to be a mum.
Mm.
So I was offered voluntary redundancy um, at 31, and I thought that was it. I was never going to work again. But I also knew that I needed to be brave because I was never going to be offered that much money to leave a job that I didn't really like.
Mm.
And I knew that in a couple of years' time, I was hoping to have another child and expand my family and leave anyway.
Mm.
So I took the money and ran. It wasn't, when I say I'm never going to get that much money, it wasn't loads, but for a job I'd only
Yeah.
been in 4 years, it was pretty good. And I managed to negotiate that they paid 3 months of my daughter's nursery fees for
Nice.
me, so I could and keep my laptop and stuff like that,
Yeah.
so that I could kind of hit the ground running.
Yeah.
So I left, and I took 6 weeks off. It was around about Christmas time, and then kind of emailed everybody I'd ever worked with,
Mm.
and just said, if you need any kind of bits and bats marketing or business development support doing, let me know. I've never really, other than a few months, stopped since. But I kind of did it on a freelance basis, very much behind the scenes. Never had the kind of the bravery, or I didn't have the belief in myself, and I was scared to set up as a business.
Mhm.
Didn't know what to call myself, didn't really want to put my face at the front of a business. I preferred to just kind of lurk behind the scenes,
Yeah.
um, filling in gaps that businesses weren't able to fill in themselves.
Mhm.
So obviously over this time, I've acquired quite a lot of knowledge. I've been doing social media posts and creating content to sell businesses since Facebook was invented, which not many people can say that. When it used to be just drunken photos,
Yeah.
I said to my boss at the time, I think this is going to be a thing, and he said, "Well, give it a whirl then."
Mm.
And I was right. But then I had another child, um, and her name was Charlotte, and she was my sunshine. And I took a few months off work. Kind of few contracts came to an end. I took a bit of an unplanned maternity leave,
Mhm.
thinking this is the last time I'm ever going to have a small baby. I'm going to
Mhm.
enjoy this. And unfortunately, when she was 7.5 months old, she died. She went to bed one night and never woke up.
Mm. Like
Um,
cot death, like
it's
sudden death.
SIDS, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Never really got the reason why. So that was absolutely life-changing,
Yeah.
a life-changing moment and devastating. And when I talk about it, because I've told this story so many times now, I
Mm.
probably sound quite cold, but it's just the way that I get those words out.
Mhm.
Um, and about 6 weeks after Charlotte died, I unexpectedly found out that I was pregnant. So
Okay.
I'd taken 9 months out by this point, 9 months out of digital and content marketing, which is a long time in such a fast-moving industry. I was pregnant again. And the sort of job work I did before then was I'd kind of go in somewhere for 6 months and freelance. Now, we can talk about HR and equality all we like, but who's going to employ somebody who is obviously pregnant to fulfill a 6-month contract? Because you kind of know it's common sense that person isn't going to be able to fulfill the role. So I knew I had a limited time to basically find work and get back into my industry. So 2 months after my daughter died, and when I was in the very early stages of pregnancy with my son, who's now 5 and a bit, I decided to set the business up, Sunshine Digital. Don't really remember much about the early days of the business because I was in such deep grief and had terrible morning sickness and was doing most of my calls and things running to the toilet to be sick. And deep grief, it was horrendous. But somehow I kind of dug in and was resilient and set up my business. And I suppose fast forward 6 years later, my son's 5, I've got an award-winning business. And a lot of people, when they lose a child under tragic circumstances, decide to set up a charity. Well, I was skint. I'd taken an unexpected near year off work, and I wanted to do something to make Charlotte proud of me and to support her family. So I finally lost the fear of being scared of being the face of my own business and my business failing, because nothing's worse than losing your child. So having a business that fails was nothing really. So I just did it and it worked, and here I am. It's still very hard every day, but you gradually, if something horrific like that happens, you gradually find a way to live with it. And I say my son's now 5 and my other daughter's 12, and we miss her every day, but we get on with it. And my business is my dedication to her, if you like. So I told you it was a long story.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a pretty full-on story as well. So, I mean, I'm thinking at the time, I mean, the business must have been. I need to learn the name of these things, but like the poles in the Arctic, when there's like a blizzard, so you can find your way in a total whiteout. Sort of something to grab onto, hold on to.
Positive distraction, my therapist said.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was, and it was something that I could control because it was something that I'm good at, and I know I'm good at, and I had I'm lucky that I entered into it with, half a decade of really positive freelance work behind me and some really good reviews and positive references and things and knowledge. And just another thing is knowing how to go into a business and just slot into a team and hit the ground running, and you're not having to, you kind of have to befriend people, but also see past all the politics internally and get your job done. So yeah, it was my kind of anchor, if you like. My elder daughter as well, but my work was my anchor and something that I could do. And I was really lucky, or I think I probably deserved a bit of luck. There was a 6-month contract that came up as the senior content manager for a subsidiary of First Group, so like a FTSE 100 company. And before Charlotte died, I'd have been like, oh God, they wouldn't want me. I'm not good enough for that. And I just thought, am I allowed to swear on this podcast? F it, fuck it. I'm just going to apply. And it was the first big contract that I won. And I think that is that I'm a lot more fearless since I lost her. Because what's the worst that can happen? Because it already did.
That's it. It is like people that have been through things like that. You just like, I don't
Yeah,
care. Like nothing's gonna hurt me like that.
No, exactly. And I have to say, even though I was like had a freelance contract with First Group, they were very good. They kept me right up until my due date, and then I had kind of few weeks off with my son, and then went back to them for a while, and they were great. They treated, to be fair, big companies can sometimes get a bad rap, but they treat me like an employee. They sent me flowers and everything when he was born, and they were really good. And they were like, "You don't have to come back yet," but I wanted the money, to be honest.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was really lucky, and I picked up lots more local business. And it's just gone on from there, really. And my business is 6 years old now. It'll be 7 years old this year. Of course, it's a roller coaster. Like I've just had a client this morning say they want to take their content marketing back in house. So that's me needing to now find a new client. But that's just the nature of it. The clients come and the clients go.
Yeah.
It's a crowded market, but I'm good at what I do. I do what I say I'll do. I'm reliable and I'm good. And so I know the work will always come without sounding, too up myself. I'm quite confident that I'm good at what I do and that the work will come.
Yeah, I mean that's the position that you want to be in. Like that's being a professional, isn't it? And I think that's really hard, like especially early in your career.
Yeah.
Career, I use the term loosely, but early in your working life, you sort of you don't know what you're good at and what you like, and you just trying stuff, and you kind of your ethics more about, well, if you can be bothered turning up on time and just doing the job and getting out.
Yeah, exactly. And I think as well, like I was saying, getting made redundant at 31 and thinking that's it, that's my career over, I'm never going to work again. How stupid, how ridiculous. I could have gone on to train to be whatever I wanted to be at 31, but that even at 31 I felt too old for that to be an option. I mean, I'm pleased with, obviously not how I got here, but I'm pleased with where I am.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that I can work around my children.
Yeah.
Like my son has got his class assembly on Thursday at 9:00. You need to write that down actually. But rather than having
do it
to
now.
like rather than having to negotiate with an employer about starting later or finishing later, or it's just like, well, I know that in my work diary that's booked out and I can go and be there. And if one of them's ill or something, then I can pick them up. So it allows me to be a mum in the way I need to be a mum, because I want to be there for them in that way. And I still work full time. I run my business full time, but I do it flexibly. Some nights I'm still at my desk till 11 o'clock. Sometimes, like on Sunday afternoon, I had to do some work, but the rest of the time, I can work how I want. And if I want to do a gym class during the day, I can, or I go wild swimming. So yeah, it has its pros and its cons, but I now think that I'm pretty much unemployable after 10 years of working for myself.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, it's like, what do you mean you want me to come to a meeting at 10 o'clock? That's when I have yoga.
This is totally unreasonable. I'm not leaving my house.
Yeah. What do you mean you want me to put on actual clothes that aren't elasticated and come to an office? I do go to clients' offices, by the way, but
yeah, but it is that kind of, well, I could do that, but I could not do it as well.
Yeah, but also, I'm having some like branding photos and like video content being done in a couple of weeks, and it's like, just come up as just turn up as you usually would for work, and I'm like, no, actually, no. But it would actually be quite funny to have some kind of outcuts of me at a laptop in my pajamas.
Yeah.
Or if I don't want to put the heating on, me in my normal clothes with my big woolly dressing gown over me to keep me warm. Yeah, I don't think that's quite the vision people have of you running your own business, is it?
No, I've not been quite brave enough yet to actually go the full sort of sit here with the dressing gown on.
Oh,
But
have you not?
no, that like, I am in.
Yeah, oh well, yeah. I quite often do. My partner started working from home a little bit, and it's really made. I have actually got jeans on today, so I've been out at client meetings, but it really made him laugh the first time that he saw me on a Zoom call in my pajamas, and I just put a top on over the
Yeah.
top. It's like I didn't think that people really did that. That's what they do.
It's all they need for work, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
I always got really like call centers. I kind of get the reason why they do it, but those call centers where they'd be like, "We want you dressed a certain way." It's like,
Yeah.
I'm on the phone. Nobody can see me.
Yeah. Oh, totally. I'm with when I had my proper job, I worked from home a lot. I covered the whole of the UK, and was in the office 1 day a week, but the rest of the time I was at home or on site.
Mm.
And it's one's for Secret Santa. Because everybody knew that I spent a lot of my life in my pajamas. I bought some pajamas that were the print was a suit.
Mm.
So it had
Nice.
she was a jacket and tie printed onto them. I love those. So I used to turn up for all my work meetings that were camera on with my suit pajamas on. And it was a man's suit as well, so it was even funnier.
And work appropriate.
And work appropriate, yeah. I think now if a potential client, if they want me to go and pitch for some work and they gave me a dress code, I genuinely wouldn't go. I would just be like, I don't think we're a good fit.
Yeah.
I'm not just saying that. I know when I got a tattoo, my dad said to me, "Oh, what if somebody doesn't want to work with you because you've got a tattoo?" And I was like, "Well, if they don't want to work with me because I've got a tattoo, then I don't think we're a good fit anyway."
Yeah.
So,
How long did that take to get to, sort of starting a business, getting to the point where you can kind of, were you always sort of focused on the kind of people that you could work with, or was it just take anybody and then like, I've got enough customers now, I can say no to these?
it was probably initially I was take anybody. But I would say I've always been, if I have like a prospecting call with somebody and I don't like them, then I won't work with them. I will sort of wriggle out of it or just be quite honest and say I don't think we're a good fit. I've always been like that. But there have been occasions when I've thought that and I've worked with them and it's gone to shit. I should have trusted my instinct. And you're more likely to do that when you're really looking, you need work rather than when business is bad, not good. And some of them become all consuming. Like some of them will have had clients who've messaged me on Christmas Day before. When I've been really clear that I'm taking 10 days off because I need a break from my mental health. I won't be responding to anything messaging me on my personal accounts on Christmas Day. Not okay.
Yeah, no, I agree. I remember this was a few years back now, but we had like, one of these random sales calls and it was like Easter Sunday and we're all sitting down to eat and it's like, piss off.
Do you know what I got on Christmas Day that really angered me was, first of all, I got a text from my bank to say that I was overdrawn, which was fine. I just not moved money around with it being Christmas. And then I got a message from the HRMC to tell me that on Christmas Day morning, a text to say that your tax is due. You owe this much tax and you need to pay it. I'm like, can you imagine if I had money stressors getting those two messages on Christmas Day morning? That could tip somebody over the edge.
Oh yeah.
On an already difficult time. Quite literally. Those messages, maybe with the bank one because it was automated, but the tax office should not be sending those messages on Christmas Day. It's absolutely ridiculous.
No.
So
and it's just thinking about like, even if it's a weekly automated thing or whatever, it's just like, just think for a
someone's
second.
mental health.
Yeah.
I was literally sat. My kids were sat opening the presents, and that text came up. And it's
to spoil the magic, eh?
I know, and I think literally. And I'm quite organised with that, so I do put some money aside every month for when that happens. So it's not a massive stress. I just refused to pay it until 11:55 p.m. on the 31st of January because I want it in my account, not theirs, for as long as possible.
Yeah.
My tiny way of like sticking it to the man, but I still pay it promptly.
Well, you've got to take what you can.
Yeah, exactly. But I still don't like being late. But
no. Okay, so I'm going to move the questions around a little bit with this one. So I'm going to do Brexit first. I'm going to do Brexit and climate change first, and then go into the other two questions before we go to the end too.
Yeah.
So with Brexit, basically the question is, has it changed your work at all in any way that you've noticed? So it can be good or bad or no difference.
So the way that it's changed my business is very small, but my Auntie Karen, who is my main source of childcare during school holidays, can no longer spend as much time in Spain, so I get more childcare. Yay! I hope she's not listening. And she voted leave, so I feel quite smug about that. No, it's not changed my my work really at all, other than perhaps the cost of things going up and me having more arguments with people. But that's it really. I was an avid Remainer, and well, I'll stop there because I always tell my clients to not talk about religion or politics. So yeah, I have been approached to do the content for both the Labour and the Tory party actually, and I've declined both.
Very wise.
Yes, I don't want to be affiliated. Exactly. So yeah, not really is the answer. For me, I can work with anybody who's English speaking around the world, and I've worked with people in Australia, people in Germany, someone in Holland, someone in the Maldives.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, it doesn't. Everything I do meet people in person if they're local to me, but the majority of what I do is done online and over Zoom. So, but I'm absolutely horrendous at languages. I say it's because I've got such a good grasp of the English language and written word. I don't have space in my brain for other languages. I've been an avid reader and a bookworm since as soon as I could like hold a book, but I'm just not very good at foreign languages. And do you know what part of that is a lot of things I'm not really bothered about, but I think every accent sounds a bit shit when you've got a Yorkshire accent and you're trying to speak French.
I know exactly what you mean.
Bonjour. Have you ever seen Inglourious Bastards with Brad Pitt when he's doing the Italian accent? That's how I feel whenever I'm trying to speak a different language. I will try to be polite, but I just can't. Whereas, some people have an absolute, they can like pick them up like sponges.
Yeah.
Can't speak other languages.
Yeah.
So yeah, I only work with people who can speak English to me. Is that politically correct? I don't know, but it's practical. I mean, I'm sure we could use Google Translate, but
yeah, it's
I mean, not worth it.
Exactly, you'd have to be charging a lot to be.
Exactly, especially when we're working with language in the written word. It's just not. It's too complicated.
I mean, maybe if they wanted something that had been translated and they wanted a native speaker to look at it.
Totally. But yeah, so it doesn't affect me because I can still work with anyone all over the world. I did used to have a client in Barcelona, which I have no longer got, which is both good and bad. I miss the trips, but also it was always a bit of a hassle with childcare.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah. It's not as exciting, but it's much more practical.
So
yeah, that's my answer about Brexit, really.
I mean, I guess there's obviously you've found a way. So I'm thinking here about your flexible working and your ability to work flexibly. Like there must be maybe not all the time. I suppose you get to a point where people they know you and they know how you work.
Yeah.
But yeah, there must be quite a lot of pull to kind of. You must have had to hold the line quite a lot of like, I can't. I'm not doing that, and I said I wouldn't do that. And I can't do that, and
totally. I've got a corporate client who they like me. They're down south, and they like me on site. They pay nicely, but it's a really boring job. They've recruited 6 times and people have left, and they keep having to get me back. And it's like, if you could just let me do this remotely, I could do this for you 2 days a week, but they won't. I could do it in 2 days a week, what they would be paying someone 5 days to do, but they just can't see past it.
Because I've done loads of temping, and this really like annoys me. But yeah, the whole thing of like when they get a temp in and it's like, you've got 2 days worth of work here.
Yeah.
Why am I in for 5 days?
Yeah.
Like I could be doing other things. I
Yeah.
could do another role that maybe pays as much or more.
Yeah. Yeah, I could do that and run my business as well, probably. I mean, I'd probably be working 7 days a week, but that's another story.
Yeah.
And I do find that actually most days I drop my little routine at the moment is do the school run most mornings, take the dog for a walk, and then I work through to about 3, half 3, solidly. Maybe take 20 minutes to take the dog out and grab a coffee at lunchtime. And then that's my day, and then I'll really check again in the evening. Some nights I do have to do a couple of hours work, but I do more work in those kind of 6, 7 hours solidly at my desk than I ever did doing 9 or 10 hours in an office, because I'm focused and I'm not up chatting and making rounds of tea and going for meetings, meetings that people call because they're a bit lonely and want to listen to the sound of their own voice. Let's have a huddle. Oh, so yeah, I can do a lot more in a short period than I could when I used to work in the traditional sense.
Yeah, and you can rearrange your time or take time off if if you're waiting for the next thing to happen on somebody else and they're holding you up, you can work on something else because you've always got something else to do.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the thing as well, is that I've realized I am never done. There's always something, because there's always something more I can be doing for my business when I finish the client work.
Yeah.
And because of the way I am, I'll always go over and above for my clients. Like one of them wants a blog writing, and that's not within my agreed kind of retainer with them. But I was talking to them, and when you think actually to talk you through writing this is going to take longer than me just writing it.
Yeah.
So I've said, if you give me 5 bullet points, I'll top and tail it and turn it into a blog article for you. I should charge more for that, but I don't. Do sometimes if it happens all the time, but as a one-off, I'll always do more rather than less.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do climate change next. So this is because Leeds has declared a climate emergency. So I asked people within their work, is there anything that you can do to promote awareness or mitigation, adaptation, all of those kind of things? Is climate change something that's part of your business or part of your working, or is it outside of it?
In all honesty, it's not something that's on my radar within my business. I work remotely for the most part. Other than a notebook, I run a paperless business. I have a reusable coffee cup. I recycle. As a household, we do our best. We have 2 cars. That's the only thing, but we've talked about that. And my partner works in Ripon when he's in the office, and that's too. If one of the kids needs picking up or something, or I need to see a client, and the car's in Ripon, it's too far, and we don't have the best public transport in the village that we live in. So we do need 2 cars to operate, really, but mine's not used all that much. Other than that, no, not really. I try and take public transport where I can. In fact, I prefer it if I'm going into town to see a client. But yeah, other than that, I've got a very, very low carbon footprint.
Yeah. We'll do COVID first and then do social media. So with COVID, I want you to think back to going into lockdown. So the trend of people that I've talked to seems to be either the work fell off a cliff or it went through the roof. Like not necessarily paying work, but just ringing up all your clients and like managing expectations and stuff, or just managing calls and inquiries. So yeah, think about going into lockdown. What was the workload change there?
So I lost 90% of my business literally overnight.
Yeah.
Clients had to close, etc. So they were like, if we're not open, we don't need any content creating.
Were they dropping off beforehand Was it sort of dropping off in dribs and drabs beforehand?
No, it was literally they kind of, because we kind of knew we were going to be going into some form of lockdown, didn't we? And some of them were like, well, if as long as we keep going, you keep going. And I think some of them were in denial a little bit as well. So yeah,
I think we all were. There was plenty of people who were like, "Oh, well, we're a bit. It's only for a week or whatever."
yeah. Let's just keep going. So yeah, but it was literally when we got the announcement, it was literally like, done. We don't need you anymore. Also, my partner works in food production, and so he was a key work. He was busier than ever. So he was really busy. So all of a sudden, I had 2 children at home. My business had gone up the Swanee, and I couldn't go out anywhere. So I'm trying to manage the work that I did have, and look after 2 children, and educate one of them, become a teacher as well. It was really difficult.
Yeah, and
I imagine that. Me.
Well, yeah, how. Because that's going to be really difficult, because the natural thing is for the business to start to slide and take a back seat.
Yeah.
Like, were you really disciplined and like, no, I'm not going to let this fail?
Well, yeah, I think literally for about 2 weeks, I was a rabbit in headlights, drinking gin over the fence with my next door neighbour. And like all these people, and the weather was really good, and lots of people had been furloughed. And it was like, I was like, shit, what am I going to do? Because
it's like an enforced holiday initially, wasn't it?
Yeah. But then when they said they were going to give self-employment, was it the SICE grant? They said that quite quickly, didn't they? Which was great, except for the years that it was assessed from. One of them was when I was on my maternity leave from Charlotte. So I don't earn £70 a week, I'm afraid, and that's what they assessed. That's what they assessed it from, one of my years that averaged it out. So I didn't get very much, which annoyed me, because they shouldn't take maternity pay into a factor as a wage, but they did. So I didn't get very much money. But we were better off than most. We weren't going anywhere, so we weren't spending anything. We had a mortgage holiday, etc. My husband was working, and so we had a wage coming into the house. But then gradually, what happened was that I could manage like my 2 clients that were left pretty much on an evening, or I put the kids in front of the TV for 10 minutes. I could manage them and their content. And there were people I'd been with for a long time, so they were really understanding as well of my situation. And they were like, we just want you to keep it ticking over. One of them was an online training company, so they were in demand more than ever. The others was a funeral director. So they were busy, but they were a little bit more busy dealing with business than their content. So they were really understanding of the fact that I probably wasn't going to be able to give my business 100% at that time, but there was that sense of everybody's kind of camaraderie and coming together and looking out for each other. And once I kind of got into the flow of it and actually started to think about it, I offered I kind of did some posts in my local Facebook groups to like local businesses. Look, I'm a content marketing expert. All we've got at the moment as businesses is online. So now's the time to get your online presence up. I'm offering everybody a free hour. So I did lots within my local community. I also, have you heard of the Real Junk Food Project?
Yeah.
I also took on comms for them, which ended up being I bit off quite a lot more than I expected there. That ended up being a bit, it was as a volunteer, but it ended up being quite a big role. Like I had them go viral several times, which was quite hard to manage. So yeah, I did some stuff for them. And then gradually what happened was, whereas my work before, I'd been very much doing it for people, which I still do, by the way, lots of small businesses had decided with the money they were given that they were going to spend some of that money on training to find out how to create their own content properly in the future. So my business changed in the sense that I did a lot of coaching and a lot of creating content plans for people to implement long term, and how to write a post, how to write a blog. So yeah, that was a very small part of my business, and now I would say it's a much bigger part of my business than it was before. It was probably 90% done 4-year 10% training, and now it's probably more like 50-50.
Yeah.
During COVID, it was probably more like 90% of my business was coaching. And it became a bit of a snowball effect because I'd done this with a couple of people. They would tell the friends and the other small businesses in networks, and they were like, oh, we need this too. And so it became COVID was actually, initially, it was a nightmare, but it was actually a really good thing for my business. And I think all those people who were resistant, even 4 years ago, to being online or using social media, are like, we've got to do it. We've got to do this. So those people jumped online, and a lot of them had no idea where to start or what to do. So they needed me. And I think the thing was, because the people knew that they were they had a window to get online and get their business that are pivoted out there. Everyone wanted everything done yesterday.
Yeah.
So, I was working well into the night, and but coming out of COVID, I spend a lot less time traveling. The majority of my clients are more receptive to phone calls and video calls because proved I could do it.
Yeah.
And they get more from me.
Yeah.
I've had a meeting with someone today, and you spend half an hour getting there, half an hour getting back, and that's an hour you're not working on their business.
Yeah.
Whereas it's something we probably could have had a Zoom or phone call that lasted half an hour.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that was COVID for me, really. I'm a really social person. I do a lot within my community. I go to yoga. I'm part of the Women's Institute. I'm a wild swimmer. So that was the hard bit for me, was being in the house with my family and no escape.
Did you have office, like, have you always had office space in the house?
I haven't got office space in the house at the moment. I'm in my daughter's bedroom because we've just had building work done. So I will be having an office again. By Easter is my time scale, but for the moment I'm based on the kitchen table or in my local coffee shop. So yeah, usually it's fine because it's just me at home, but my partner's working at home as well today. So we try and stay on different floors of the house.
Is there anything other than, I suppose, the video meetings and stuff, which has kind of become more acceptable? Have there been any sort of permanent changes for you work-wise coming out of lockdown?
Absolutely. I suppose I would, having my kids around and doing a Zoom call would just be a big no-no. But now if I've got my kids around and all of a sudden one of them appears in the background, like it happened the other week when I was on the phone to a Zoom call to a prospective client, my son came into the room waving his reading book, and I was kind of shooing him away, going, go away. And the client said, has someone come in the room? I said, yeah, it's my son. He wants to show me his reading book. And she says, well, get him on then. Him can show me too. And I don't think before COVID, that would have been, it might have happened, but it would have been unusual. Whereas we spent 2 minutes, he showed the reading book and he went away. And that wasn't seen as absolutely unprofessional. I think we're all a little bit more tolerant of the work-life blend, shall we say. I think when I had my proper job, the CEO, who was quite hands-on, was very much, I don't care when you work, really. As long as you get the work done, you work when you're at your best. And I know that after about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm not at my best. Between 3 and 5, I should just have a nap, really. I think I was Spanish in a previous life. And I know that's not a good time for me.
Yeah.
But before that, I'm like superwoman, power switched on. And then I am again after about 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
My brain's back. So I'm able to work like that. And I think we should allow people to work when they're at their best. However, a lot of people are fundamentally lazy and will do the bare minimum and take the piss. Whereas I never really took the piss. Like, everyone's like, don't you watch in the olden days? Don't you just watch Jeremy Kyle and stuff? And I'm like, the only time I've ever had the television on when I've been worked for this company is when there was a panorama program about someone went undercover in our sector, and I had to write a piece about it.
Yeah.
So I did watch the television, but it was for work purposes. So you could argue that it was work.
Well, it was work.
Yeah, because I wouldn't ever have watched that program otherwise. So yeah, I just don't. Sometimes I have the radio on. I really miss Pembrose doing radio too, because I used to love Popmaster at 10:30. It was very rare I'd take a meeting at 10:30, because I used to like to have that half an hour to do the quiz.
Yeah, like we're terrible, like just in general as creatures, we're terrible for rituals and habits. And
rituals.
Oh, I must do that every this day is the thing that thing happens.
Yeah, no, I can't have a meeting at and that's why I can't be implied.
Okay, so I'm gonna move on to social media. Obviously, this is a big one for you, so I'm gonna give us like 10 minutes or so on this. So my question here is generally to people, because everyone's involved in social media, even if you're not a social media worker. You might get roped in to like do a post, have a photo done, say a thing, like, so we all have to kind of do it more and more. I want to look at, is there value in that? Obviously for you there is, but like the amount of time that you put in, do you see that return on investment? Do you see the value coming out of it? So, and I know the answer is yes for you,
but it needs doing correctly, and very few people do it strategically. So one of the things when people, this is going to sound like a sales pitch, but it's not meant to, but one of the things when people work with me and I coach people is actually they find they create less content rather than more. Because I'm more about, although I do like to talk, I'm more about saying less but making it valuable. So quite often when I work with somebody, they're on every single social media platform and they're posting 5 times a day, or even just once a day. You don't need to do that. If your target market is women over 50, you don't need to be on TikTok dancing. That doesn't relate to your desired audience. So what I will do is sit with somebody and talk about their business and give them an idea of where they should be, what type of content they should be creating, and when their audience is going to be looking. So if you were, and I do have to really generalize, if I'm working with a company that is a women's retail company, then a really good time for them to post a discount code or post some content is probably about 8:30 on a Friday night, when lots of women will have had a glass of wine and be a bit more relaxed and a bit more likely to click buy. So it's thinking of things like that, but you don't need to make another dozen pieces of content that week about something else. Kind of like, I describe it as a bit like being an archer. You've got a bullseye in front of you and you're sending that arrow off and you want it to land, and you want it to land in the right place rather than just pinging it up and hoping for the best. You look at your target and you want to hit it. So aim, give yourself the best chance, because what people quite often do is it's like sending arrows off willy-nilly blindfolded and just hoping one sticks. So actually taking a good shot at that target and taking a look and aiming and taking your time to set it up can make all the difference.
So I'm thinking, so yeah, if you're aiming at the target with an arrow and you want to use your bow to get there, then if you're doing the scatter shot approach, that's like putting all your arrows into like a trebuchet or a catapult.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's how it is. And that's quite often what people do. It's a real like scattergun approach. It's like it's just like throwing spaghetti at a wall and hoping
see what sticks.
Yeah. And that's a really bad way to do it.
Yeah, that's how I do it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's how most people do it, and that's why I've got a successful business. So yeah, when I work with people, if I'm teaching them how to do their own content and social media, they usually find that they're spending a lot less time, but getting a lot more engagement and reach. So it saves time and makes money. Like I worked with somebody recently, and she made all these amazing posts. And she wanted to be she was a thought leader, and they were so interesting. But then they just kind of, at the end of each post, she just kind of stop rather than say, and you can find out more or have a chat with me here, or find out more about working with me here, or book a discovery call. She was kind of sharing all this knowledge and these thoughts, but then not wrapping it up at the end into actually doing something about it. And that's making sure there's a decent call to action and writing it so you've got a decent tagline at the top. So quite often people put the point of what they're trying to say right at the bottom. Well, you've lost somebody by then. You need the hook at the top. Most people are bad at it. So yeah, I will tend to have a look at someone's social media, and if they need a complete education in the English language, then the probably either they need me to do it for them, which a lot of people opt for, or they probably need to like go away and do a short online social media or journalism course about how to write copy before they try and get out there properly. But yeah, then there's a lot of businesses where I just do it for them, usually because they're time poor. And it's just like, here, you do it. And that's fine as well. It can be quite interesting. And that's because they keep me on a monthly retainer. That's as near to employed as I'm going to get.
And it, you keep your hand in directly at, at the coalface, as it were.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I think is probably something, because you could, the business has been going long enough, you could potentially expand and sort of bring on people and start getting more, but like, I get the impression you don't necessarily want to do that because you want to have that, you want the variety and you want to kind of keep your hand in.
I want the variety, and I also, I'm very particular. I'm not saying that I never make a typo because I'm a human and humans make typos, but when people who have done work for me make a typo, it really angers me. Or they make mistakes, and everybody makes mistakes. And I really, believe me, when I make a mistake, no one beats themselves up more than I do. But I don't want to go down that agency model, because a lot of agencies will they'll go and meet with a client, they'll do that bit, sweet talk the client, get the information, then they'll feed it back to like a graduate who's actually, they've done a degree in social media and content marketing, but they haven't got a Scooby-Doo what it actually means. I don't think you can, I know there are lots of degrees in it, but I don't understand how you can learn it at degree level, because it completely changes every year depending on trends and things. And by the time you finish that degree, social media and content marketing is a completely different animal to what it was 3 years ago now. So it's one of those things. Yes, I haven't got a degree in it, but I don't think you need one to be good at it.
But it's sort of, it's a live environment, like you say. It's like the best way to do it is to be in it.
Yeah, exactly. So so an agency would do all the account management, and then they would take the actual creation of the content back to kind of junior members of the team. And to me, that loses the client. You lose the personality. I'm all for brand voice and things, but there's nothing better than someone will talk to me and I'll get to know them, and I'll come away and I'll write their content. And just by getting to know my clients, I know when I can be a bit cheeky or a bit tongue-in-cheek and they'll like it, or I know when I need to be really serious. And you kind of, when I work with them, I get that feeling and I take on them. Like I say, I had a wedding photographer who I work with, and her own mum thought she was writing all the content herself. She was like, "Oh, your content's really good lately," and she's like, "It's not me writing it." So that says something, doesn't it, when their own mother couldn't recognize that it was somebody else writing it. And that's what I can do. I can step into their shoes and write as if I'm them. And it does take, when I'm onboarding a client, it does take a little time to get there. But usually by month 1 or month 2, I'm there. So and it doesn't all have to be dry. You can have fun with it. And I do, given the opportunity, if they give me an inch to have some fun, I will.
Good, because it should be.
It should.
It shouldn't all just be outrage and I'm really angry about this.
But
or cats.
Or dogs. So whenever I speak at quite a lot of events and things and do in-person training, and I'm always asked what's the most popular type of post. Dogs. And I got a dog recently, and I've written lots and lots of content over the years for my own business. And I put a picture of my new puppy up on the internet and said, "This is my new puppy. Isn't he lovely?" Which took me about 30 seconds. And it's the most popular post across every social media platform I use, including LinkedIn. So it's like, right now I need to spend my life finding legitimate reasons to share pictures of my dog. So it does work. And quite often when I'm onboarding a client, one of the questions I ask is, have you got any pets? And sometimes the people like, what? Why? And I'm like, seriously, have you got any pets? Because it will get you views and it will help people connect with your business. So yeah, dogs and cats win the internet.
Yeah. I mean, I've had several dogs on this show already.
Have you? Mine's downstairs, but yeah. So yeah, that's you can create all the most wonderful content and copy in the world and spend hours and hours perfecting it, but just whack a picture of your mangy old cat up and people love it. Yeah, there you go. But personally, I have a love-hate relationship with social media. I don't think I would personally be on Facebook if I didn't have to be for work. But I do find it quite good for my family are all over UK in the world to some extent, and I can put pictures of the kids up and kind of give little updates of my life without having to communicate, which is quite nice. But then when you're in your local community groups and people are saying, oh, this fireworks going off or dog poo or what's the best Chinese takeaway, that is just like, oh, for God's sake.
The best ones are the ones where there's something legal and then you get all these people doing a pile-on. None of them have any legal training or knowledge and all going, well, I think you'll find the law is this. It's like, you don't know, shut up.
Or when people ask for medical advice, I've got this rash.
Everyone's an expert.
Just don't. No medical professional is going to give you medical advice on your local community group. If you're that scared, call 111. Don't ask us. So yeah, so that does really annoy me.
Are you on Nextdoor by any chance? Have you seen it? Have you been?
Yeah, I've seen it. I've tried not to be, but I know I do. I don't know what it is, and I have got an account. But I logged out of it.
Some noise at 9 a.m. What? Everything's terrible. These youths should be destroyed.
Yeah. There were some kids playing in the park.
There was a cat on my wall. How dare it?
Yeah, there's a cat in my garden. Yeah, and it's just like, oh, get a grip. So yeah, I have a love-hate relationship, but I do run. I run my own networking group and called Finding Farsley. There's an Instagram account as well. And I share quite a lot of stuff there. And sometimes it absolutely brings out the worst in people. Like I ran when it was World Women's Entrepreneurship Day, I did a post asking people to nominate local female entrepreneurs. Bearing in mind I do this all as a volunteer, and I got a lot of nominations. So over the course of a weekend, I shared a few. You can only do a maximum of 10 in a post. And I do this for free in my own time. Oh my God. The amount of messages I got from people who hadn't been nominated and I never heard of. I am a female entrepreneur and I take umbrage that you haven't included me in this shout out. I run my own business and I formed it myself. What can you explain why I'm not included? How entitled.
I mean, like, it could be a complimentary person instead of that sort of like automatic exclusion. It could have been like, oh, great, celebrate them. I'm also this, and here are my details. Like, yeah.
And actually, it's their responsibility to get themselves seen.
Yeah.
Not mine.
And now
to
you're
find
getting
them.
yourself seen as like someone who's like,
Yeah, exactly.
Is that your brand? Is
exactly.
Like, hang on.
Yeah, if you'd like to learn more about getting seen online and shining online, perhaps follow my business account and take some tips over there. So yeah, and you get all sorts. Like I run these networking meetings and they're free, but I asked for a £5 donation to charity, and someone couldn't come a couple of weeks ago, and they demanded a refund of their charitable donation. I didn't give it them. So yeah, it does bring out it brings out the worst in people in a lot of ways. I think never type something that you wouldn't say to somebody's face. I think people hiding behind a keyboard, they think they can say whatever they want to anybody, and it's not nice. I kind of have a bit of a motto: just don't be a dick. And also, I've spoken to quite a lot of children in schools about social media using it, and I'm always like, something you publish when you're not just posting on social media, you are publishing an opinion on the internet, and something that you publish when you're 15, 16 online, when a future employer Googles you, they can find that, and it can come back to haunt you. So be very careful what you are publishing on the internet. You know, everyone's entitled to their opinion. We don't all agree, but keep those opinions private. Like I was going to work with someone recently, a tradesman, and it was recommended, and I clicked onto his Facebook profile, and it was all Britain First, etc. And I just thought, I don't want to work with you. I don't like your opinion. So I went away. But had he not had that, I probably would have worked with him.
Yeah, or you know, taking it to the next step of
yeah. I mean, I might have got there, and he might have had you know, some revealing tattoos about his thoughts or something, and I might not have progressed with it. But the fact that I looked on his personal profile and I was like, that's not something I want to support.
So that's the first thing that you want to tell everyone you're about.
Yeah, exactly, as your business. So yeah, it does have some very bad parts about it. And sometimes perhaps opinions and silly things people do when they are teenagers or at university then come back. And I'm pleased that it wasn't around when I was a teenager. But yeah, you have to think about your online footprint as well. And I don't think young people necessarily always do.
I'm going to do a quick 5 minutes on AI because I want to pick your brains a little bit on this.
Yeah.
There isn't really a question here. Just, I mean, your thoughts. I mean, do you see it as a threat? Do you see it as a help, a hindrance?
No, I don't see it as a threat.
Is it an opportunity?
So what I wouldn't say it as an opportunity. What it is good for is if you need to get started on something. So let's say I need to write something about property law in the state of Missouri a state, but the state of Missouri in America. It's really good for that sort of thing. But also I run a club called the Shine Online Club, where I have members who I hold accountable for creating their own content, posting, and they have a monthly kind of meeting with me. And a couple of them have tried writing posts with the AI and played a game to see if I can spot them. It takes me about 5 seconds to spot them. And because it'll say things like, hey, potential property buyer, and it's just not.
I am a real human speaking.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just so easy to spot. So the more you use it, the more it molds to you. But it's never going to sound like you. I mean, they might be able to get AI that can read our minds. I wouldn't put that past, you know, technology, but I don't feel threatened by it at all, and I will use it for research purposes. But just like I'd use Google, like I would throw phrases into Google if I was, you know, I've had to write blogs about safe asbestos removal. What do I know? I can't even change a light bulb. I'm pathetic. What do I know about that? So I just find it as another research tool. But just like Google, I don't believe what it tells me. You need to fact check it. I think it's really good if you don't know where to start. It's a good start for 10. But actually, if it had come pre-COVID, I would have felt threatened, because basically pre-COVID, you needed to post something every day, and it could be really kind of dry and factual. It was all about quantity over quality. And now having a good social media presence is about curated, interesting content, and a bot can't create curated, interesting content that reflects somebody's personality and makes people connect. We as human beings are predisposed to like stories and connect with stories, and AI hasn't got a story. So no.
Okay, so I'm going to do UBI next, and then I'll do the change question last.
Yeah. Yeah.
So universal basic income, are you know what it is?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if there was a universal basic income, how do you think that might affect your work? Would you work doing the same job? Would you work more, less, differently?
So when you're talking about it, you're talking that we all have the same rather than there being
everybody's getting a payment of like, so a set payment. I used to give like random amounts, but like I'm not doing that now.
I know they've done a trial somewhere, haven't they, in a certain area?
Jarrow, it was 1,600 a month.
Yeah. No, I would work the bare minimum that I had to get that amount.
I mean, you would be able to work as well. So you would get the payment. If you're working, you get the payment. Everybody gets the payment.
Yeah. But I wouldn't be working like I do.
Yeah.
Because what's the point?
Yeah. I mean, I guess it would have come in really useful sort of through pregnancy and maternity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Setting up the business.
Yeah, absolutely, it would then. But then I don't think there is, if that's the ceiling, then there's no motivation to break that ceiling.
Oh no, it's not a ceiling. You can earn above it. Yeah.
Oh right, okay. No, if there was a basic income, well, no, I would work more.
Yeah.
I would work more because I don't think that that is an amount that can sustain a family of 4.
So so you'd be working anyway.
Yeah,
I mean, I get the impression you would have anyway. And I don't think anyone that started their own business is going to be like, oh, do you know what? I'd pack it in.
Yeah. No, sorry, I thought you meant that's what everyone would get and no more. No, I certainly won't be working my ass off them. But yeah,
not a cap. Yeah,
I think that I do think that it's a good idea for some people, but I also think that, try and word this carefully, the lifestyle that I want to lead. I mean, I haven't got a Range Rover parked outside or anything like that. I've got a Nissan Juke. It's a very average lifestyle, but I'm a homeowner. I want to have holidays. Yeah. My dreams aren't very big. My financial dreams are to have a camper van and be able to go off wild swimming on my own every weekend and things. Or take the kids. So my dreams aren't wild, but that's not something that I feel would be achievable on £1,600 a month.
No.
To be a homeowner and, hopefully put my kids through university and pay a pension and buy food and keep warm and all those things. So yeah, but if we could live in a world where everybody had enough money to be fed and warm, then that would be amazing.
Or just a world that didn't want people to fall, didn't want people to die of exposure in the street and didn't find that acceptable.
Well, exactly. Exactly. Can you imagine at the moment Sleeping Row? It's not good, is it?
No.
Not
a great prospect. So I will move on to the change question. So if you could change any 3 things about your work, so you can be very pragmatic about this, or you can be really fantastical with it. If you could change any 3 things about your work as it is at the moment, what would you change?
Probably the one thing I would change is people have to give me 30 days notice if they don't want to work with me. I'd maybe make that 3 months, but that's not realistic in my industry. But that would be so actually, if I had, because I'm usually at capacity, but if somebody gives me notice for 30 days, it's usually not enough time for me to market myself and onboard another client. So I have a month or sometimes 2 months where I'm not earning to my full capacity, but it's not something that's going to happen. So yeah, it would be that. I have got a pretty good dickhead radar, but I would up my dickhead radar. And if I got the slightest inkling that someone was a dickhead, I just would say, no, my plate's full at the moment. And the third thing is, actually went to a business planning event last week, and I would have better support and systems in place with my kind of admin and other shit tasks to enable me to do more client work, or not do more client work, do the same amount of client work and have more spare time to go wild swimming. So those are my 3 things, which I think I'm very lucky that those are the things that I would do, because they're all quite small, really. My business is in a relatively good place at the moment. I mean, if we spoke again next year, it might be a bit different, but it's in a relatively good place. I don't want to work Fridays, anymore, or at least not actively work Fridays, just be reactive. But yeah, that's not going to happen for a while.
Maybe. I mean, like, there's other talk as well, like, along with the UBI discussion, there was the whole, and it was going around last year or the year before, the 4-day week sort of thing.
Absolutely. I mean, I often see, especially on LinkedIn and business type forums, all these quotes from Henry Ford, and it really pisses me off because Henry Ford was the one that invented, just as a concept, really, just out of thin air, the 9 to 5 Monday to Friday working week. And everybody else followed. So, and it's so outdated, and it was made with no data or anything. It was just kind of like, so it really annoys me when he's used as an example of being a good businessman. I mean, obviously he's got a really good business, but the 9 to 5 work week wasn't a good thing to come out of that.
No. I mean, it kind of had it has its place, but I think it's had its day.
It had its place when women stayed at home and men went to work because it had that structure. But I think we're still expected to do all of those things now as women. As a team, we're still expected to do the same level of cooking, cleaning, looking after the kids, ironing, socializing, after school activities, but still have a full-time job as well, for to be 2 people in a household working full-time rather than 1. And it's really difficult, and it's really high pressure. And I think at some point something's got to give. I think definitely companies are becoming more flexible to parents now, working parents, but it would have been impossible for me to raise my children and have a proper job. Other people manage it, of course, but for me personally, the way I wanted to parent, I couldn't have done it. Couldn't have done both, and that's really sad because you're missing out on a lot of the best of parents within the workforce. And you don't have to work full time to do a good job.
No, yeah, and I've plenty to say on that and add to it and so on, but I'm not going to add anything on there.
No.
But I'm really glad that you made all those points.
Yes. Yes. Sorry.
No, that's really good. It's always good to get a bit of ranting in. So this is the point where I throw it over to you to talk about anything that you might want to talk about. If there isn't anything in particular that you want to discuss, just this is also your opportunity to give us all the socials. So where can people find you?
You can find me. I'm Clare Sunshine Digital on Instagram. I'm Clare Clifford on LinkedIn. I think I'm Clare Sunshine Digital on Facebook. And that's it, because you don't need to be on all the social platforms all of the time. Be on the ones that work for your business. If you're in and around Farsley, I also run Finding Farsley, which is a great Instagram account that will tell you everything that's happening in and around Farsley. Couple of networking groups that I run and am involved with. Find It in Farsley and surrounding areas. We have a business networking group, and we meet. It's free, but you have to make a £5 donation to charity, which is non-refundable. We meet the second Monday of every month. We did a business planning event. We've got laughter yoga one coming up next month, and then we've got content strategy, and then dealing with stress at work. So we do some really interesting stuff. I'm also part of another networking group called the Horses Independent Collective, who meet, I think it's every other Friday morning we meet. I don't actually go in person that often because I've got a regular commitment, but they're a really nice kind of group as well. And they're 2 networking groups that I'm involved in for small businesses, if they're local to me. That are really, if you're new to networking, they're also really nice ones to come along to. The other thing that I would say completely randomly is, if you're into wild swimming, look me up. If you fancy giving it a go, I do that quite often. I'm always happy to show people the ropes, so to speak. And my one of my aims for this year is to become an open water swimming coach or wild swimming guide, so I can show the people how to do it. That, when I did my list of things I wanted to achieve this year, seemed a lot more achievable than having Fridays off. So yeah, that's me really. I love Leeds. Been here for 23 years now. I don't think I could ever leave.
It gets its claws
Absolutely
in you.
love it. Yeah. I mean, I'm from West Yorkshire, from Homeford originally. Leeds is great. I love it. I love Farsley. I love Rodley. I love Horsforth.
Yeah, it's a really nice side of the city.
Yeah. I'm so lucky. We're so lucky to live here. And I think that's everything really. Come and find me. I'm always happy to have a chat. I do offer, if you can find my website through my socials or just Google me, and I do offer a 15-minute free spotlight call to put the light on your business and do a little mini audit of your social media presence and tell you what you can do to make it better, or go from there. I'm quite busy at the moment, so those slots are few and far between, but feel free to have a look and book one. And yeah, that's me.
Cool. Excellent. Well, thank you very much for doing this.
You're welcome.
I'm assuming you don't want to add anything additional at the moment, given the time.
Just no, just go through life and just don't be a dickhead to people.
I think that's advice for everyone. Yeah.
Applicable
in all circumstances.
I was on another podcast recently, which I absolutely love, which is called "Don't Work with Tossers."
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah. So I was on that, and that was great, and that's a great series as well if you want to listen to that. And something that we should all think about a little bit.
Unfortunately, a lot of the time they're the boss.
Yeah, and that's another reason why I'm unemployable.
Okay, that's the perfect out point. I'm going to stop the recording there.
Yeah.
Thank you again to Claire for being my guest. Thanks as always to all my guests, and thanks to you, Leeds, for being my subject. If you are in Leeds or from Leeds, if you are Leeds, then please be the guest on this show. Yes, I am speaking to you. I still need to find 886 lawyers to interview, so being a guest is the greatest help. You'll get free advertising and media experience, and you'll be part of a unique project in our unique city. Whatever you do, I'd be interested to hear about it. You don't have to be online, and you can even be anonymous if you would like to. You will enjoy the experience of recording it. Like, share, follow, and subscribe to Working Hours, and please help to support Working Hours financially. Go to patreon.com/workinghoursPod to give monthly from £1 a month, or go to Ko-fi, that's ko-fi.com/working hours to donate any amount you can. It's just a few clicks. It's honestly not difficult, so don't be put off by having to make too much effort to support the show. If you're a local business who would like to sponsor or pay for any advertising on Working Hours, or if you'd like your locally produced products branded with Working Hours so that it could be used as merch for the project, especially if you do something physical that can be delivered locally and sustainably, then I'd love to hear from you. If your work is work, supporting it, making it happen, making it grow, then maybe you should join up with a unique project that's about examining that very subject. If you're a recruitment agent or a trade union in Leeds, you should be calling me to get your name on this project now. You can email Working Hours at workinghourspod@western-studios.com. Okay, that's me. Work for peace and plan with kindness. Cheers, ears. Take care out there and be kind to each other, Leeds. Working Hours is produced, recorded, edited and published by Simon Treen for Western Studios, Leeds Limited. The music was The Bees from Chopin's Etudes, which is in the public domain and was taken from museopen.org. Go to western-studios.com and use the contact page on the site to drop me a message about either Working Hours or about your own Leeds podcast project. Keep up to date with Working Hours and find out about the other great Leeds podcasts that Western Studios is involved with by following Western Studios Leeds on Facebook at facebook.com/western_studios_Leeds and on LinkedIn, linkedin.com/company/Western-Studios. Western Studios Leeds is available to loiners to help them realise their own podcast projects for only £30 for an hour of audio podcast work or £40 for an hour of video podcast work. Email makemypodcast@western-studios.com with details of your project and what support you want to get your Leeds podcast made. Whatever your podcast question or need, get in touch with Western Studios Leeds.